Welcome everybody to the Mansfield Buzz.
Welcome to Mansfield Buzz, Jordan Hurdy in the mix, spotlighting local stories, every episode's a fix, unearthing unique gems, what makes them shine. Tune in, get ready, we're diving into their grind. With Jordan's questions, we reveal what's at the core. Hurdy's tech wizardry, bringing stories to the fore. Together we create, star showcasing what's unique. Mansfield Buzz, where content creation sleek. Calling all business owners and customers to the scene. Discover authentic gems, find the best you've ever seen. Meet the faces behind each unique space. Trust in their stories, find community in this place.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. It is Thursday at 2 o'clock, and we are on, as usual, live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're checking in with us today, make sure you go tell 5 friends. Do this. Send them right over to youtube.com. Our handle is at MansfieldTXBuzz, which let's just pause for a minute, Jordan. After next week, Jordan and I are going to pause, and we're going to come back with the rebrand. I believe it's going to be called the Texas Buzz. Is that right, Jordan?
That is correct.
And we're gonna be digging into some newer stuff with it. And so I think we have one more guest on April 2nd next week, and then we are going to revamp for a couple weeks and be back to join you guys for some new stuff. So of course we're your hosts, okay? So go check Jordan right there. Huff, pronounced Huff.
Yes, not ho.
Not ho. Huff. Of course, I'm Hurdy Burke with the weirdest name in the world. And yes, I hear the joke, hurdy-gurdy man, all the time. Don't worry about it.
He even had the song played for him live.
That's right. Even had a song last week played for me live, which was the week before, which is really cool. But we do want you guys to go check out. You can comment with us if you want in the comment section. If you want to ask some questions to Johnny, we're going to talk with him on Trinity River inspections here in a minute. We got some great questions for him. But as usual, we're going to go into our rewind section. So I'll be right back with that. We're going to play last week's guest, Tom Stevenson, and then we'll be right back in a sec.
Quick rewind, keep it tight. Highlights, prime to ignite. Catch the vibe, feel the rush. Previously on the Mansfield Buzz.
This event, the car show, coming May 16th, is one of the ways that we raise funds for the veterans.
So tell us about where it's at, how people get their trucks, motorcycles, go through the whole event with us. I want to make sure everybody understands, right? Mm-hmm. So it's May 16th. Right, so what we're doing, we're talking to Tom Stevenson last week. That's a quick little intro. Go check it out on our channel. It's right there in a short. But on May 16th, he has a big event for veterans. And I believe Jordan and I committed to driving in a car there. And I'm going to pay $25. He's going to pay $25. We're going to hang out, do some B-roll there. But it's on May 16th. It's located in Heritage Parkway, right there where you see the truck. And anybody's familiar with Mansfield, you know where that veterans place is. They're going to have cars. If you put booths up and do any kind of fun events or anything, you're welcome to set that up. They don't charge for that, and sell your wares and have some fun. They're going to have food and everything. So May 16th, we're going to support veterans, and Jordan are going to ride in his car, one of his cars. I'm not going to tell you what it is, just be surprised. But you got to come see us and say hi to the Mansfield Buzz guys. So with that said, we're getting ready to jump into with Johnny here, and we always do an icebreaker, and then Jordan takes over, and he's going to have some fun going through this. So we'll be right back with the icebreaker. All right, Jordan, we get to talk to Johnny today at Trinity River Inspections. Excited to have him. He was all panicked about being on, and he tried to get on with the browser earlier. It was so secure you couldn't even get Fort Knox with it. So we had to switch him out on a browser earlier, and here he is today. So Jordan, jump in, my friend.
Awesome. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned before the show, you said your son is in cybersecurity.
My son-in-law.
Son-in-law. Okay. I can't wait to tell him that the one time you got hacked is because you went to a podcast that made you get the wrong
No,
browser.
don't say that.
He knows if it's involved with a computer technology that I have to download something, he knows that I'm in trouble.
So what time you go to work and what kind of TV do you have? Never mind.
Early.
All right.
That's funny. All right, well, let's hop in. We have a really fun icebreaker for people to get to know you a little bit. And this one is quite the treat because we're going to talk a little about sports. But if you are your average sports viewer here in the US, you probably don't know just how cool this is. Johnny, apparently you were like pretty big in the rugby circle.
I played rugby for 18, 19 years, started in college, and I played well after school. I played for men's clubs, but I also had the opportunity to play for the U.S. team for about 12 years.
Wow. That is awesome, dude. And, you know, one of the funny things is the more I find out about these sports that over here we don't know much about that are just huge in the rest of the world. And rugby and cricket are two of them that are just like completely off the radar for most people here in the US, and the rest of the world is like they just go nuts over it.
Yes, it's in America, rugby, like lacrosse back east, like girls field hockey, volleyball, as my daughter plays in college. It's almost like a little community, a cult sport within itself. And they survive very well amongst themselves. But when you go to the international stage, people are not familiar with, as you said, cricket or rugby, but it's starting to make more and more of a presence on TV because now we have professional rugby in the United States.
That's That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to talk before we get down into it is, for the people that are not really too familiar with rugby, it's similar to football, except it's just way more intense.
No pads.
Yeah, it is. It's I don't know if you know that American football is derived from rugby. When you score in rugby, you touch the ball down, hence the word touchdown.
Right.
When they do the scrum and they push, that's actually how the scrimmage line evolved. And when Naismith was developing or making his game of basketball, he was developing a training vehicle for his rugby players to practice during the winter. So the same type of back and forth, no substitutions. Everyone plays offense. Everyone plays defense. If you did not know, the average pro football player actually between starts and stops and actual game time plays about 5.5, 6 minutes. A rugby game is 40 minutes long, 80 minutes long, 40-minute halves, and no pads except for a mouthpiece. And lastly, the only time the clock stops, if the ball goes out of bounds, they bring it right back. But the only time there's a stoppage of play is for an injury, and you have a minute to a minute and a half to get that player up or out.
Oh, wow.
And they do allow blood substitutions now. If you're bleeding, they want to be safe. They'll bring you out and bring you back in. But typically, if you leave a game, you are not coming back.
Yeah.
So, and limited substitutions.
Wow. That's
so what I want to know, Jordan, is after a game, how many days did it take you before you could actually walk straight?
When I was playing and I was younger, I was fairly athletic, and I would even maybe run a 5K on a Sunday, not competitively, just to loosen up. But I would, play basketball or something with friends. As I got older, it was more and more difficult to recover. And the only story that I can tell you is that in my last competitive trip to Argentina, my roommate was 22 years old from Indiana. And he was a huge hay-fed kid. I mean, he was 6'6". We played the same position. He probably went about 250 pounds. So he was 25, 30 pounds heavier than I was at the time. And I had to wake up at 8 o'clock to get ready for a 12 o'clock kickoff, where he was sleeping until I think we almost left.
Right.
and he didn't understand why I had to go see the physio, why I had to get my leg rubbed down, why I had to get in the shower, the bathtub, and start stretching. He didn't get it. But I also tell you the other side of that coin. the one night that we got out to go out with the team, just without the coaches or the managers, and sit down and have a meal together and try to gel. He was walking behind me in Argentina, Buenos Aires, in the widest boulevard in the world. I think it's 10 lanes either direction. And we're just walking down the street, and he's behind me, and he said, "Wranglers." Oh my God, Johnny, my dad wears Wranglers. and it kind of went off in my head that it may be time to go.
That's pretty good.
Well, he literally, I mean, if I was 38 to almost 39, if he was 22, I mean, in some states, he literally could be my son.
Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome, dude. Great story.
And, kudos to you, man, just maintaining for that long. I mean, it's, competing at that level is, there is a biological factor to it. And you have to, the older you get, you have to compensate with rigorous training, proper, stretching, warm-ups, diet, just doing it right. And it becomes it almost becomes a mental thing at that state.
It does. I think it's the discipline factor. When I played for my longest period internationally, I lived in Philadelphia. I was a commercial lender, a banker at the time. And I really, really, worked hard twice a week practices. We had games on Saturdays. The weekends that we didn't have games, I was looking for games with other clubs just to keep fit and keep rolling. But at the end, I figured that I was playing rugby probably 45, 47 weeks a year.
Wow.
And that's a high level of fitness. That's a high level of recovery. Yeah. And, I was doing everything from morning runs to working on my off days. And, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I owned a 156-year-old Victorian. So that involved a lot of work. And so my downtime that's what I did. And that's actually how I got started in this.
Okay.
So leads into that. All right.
That's good. Well, let's keep pulling that string. So then, it led you to it. How did it lead you? Tell me that connection.
Well, I was working on my old house, which is a 156-year-old Victorian, like a tall mansard roof, Pizza Hut roof. It's called a brownstone, if you've heard that description before. Yep. And just an old house. When I bought it, it was 6 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 40 amp service, which means you couldn't run a vacuum cleaner and run a hair dryer at the same time, with the whole house would blow.
Yeah,
the whole house would blow. So I had several teammates in the trades. I had my best friend who was very handy, and the first weekend we were in the house, we ran 400 feet of wire. Because every home was built for electricity, so electricity was added. So we would literally, there was one outlet for every room. So we were just running wire and doing. I bought it from a bank at a sale at an auction, and I swear to God, I thought the first owner, worked for Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, because the house was painted yellow inside and out. and let me tell you one color that I do not like on houses.
Yellow,
baby.
Oh,
gosh,
okay, good.
Can't stand it.
Oh my God.
But I was restoring the old house in between, and I had rugby friends, and they would come over for a party, and I had finished maybe another room or something. I always had some kind of celebration when I finished some part of the house. And people come over and oogle or say, "This is great," or "May, why didn't you do this?" or "How did you do this?" And then all of a sudden, a friend just said, "Yeah, we're thinking about adding a deck. Can you come over for a barbecue on Saturday and look at that?" "Yeah, sure." "And can you draw it out?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." And I would give them some ideas. "You're going to have a hot tub, so that's got to be beefed up." And all of a sudden, they would say, "Great, can you build it for us?" And I said, "Y'all know I'm a banker, right?" And yeah, you really enjoy it and you really do it. Of course, I had now acquired all the tools, and kind of for fun along the way, I became a master finish carpenter, working on, trim and making cabinets and things like that for fun. And people really, were attracted to that. And when my company moved me down to, I grew up in DC, but moved me back to DC, the DC area. I just had a realtor friend who engaged with me and said, you know what, he referred to them as idiot bankers. We have enough of idiot bankers and lenders. What we need are contractors who actually can speak the language, who can actually talk to our clients and can take their ideas and put it on paper and then execute. And the one thing I was real big on was you make a plan and you execute. Think about rugby training. And so that's what I did. And it worked really well. And I did it for about 15 years, was very successful. I really enjoyed it. And then I went to retire, and my wife realized that I was not very good retired. So I became a home inspector, because how do you use that knowledge?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's great. You get to help people. 1/3 of our clients are first-time buyers.
Mhm.
So you get to help young people, and it's fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, it's interesting how it kind of does tie the things together. You picked up all these different skills and the ability to look at things a certain way. Go back to your, like, the way you train for rugby, and athletes that have a longevity in the sport have a methodology and attention to detail, because if you're going to last a long time doing anything with your body, you have to pay attention to it, and you have to give it the proper maintenance, because otherwise you're not going to make it. It's easy to kind of lean in the genetics when you're young, but you can't do that as you grow older. So,
well, they say you use knowledge. The problem was, and you see these specials about athletes playing or running into, late in their career. It costs a lot of money to hire trainers and do that max body kind of thing. They talk about. Rugby was not professional when I played.
mm-hmm.
So only in the last 2 years, I got contacted after international event. I got contacted by a club in Spain to go over and play. And this is another side that's very, very sad. I had been lying about my age for years. I was, when I was involved with the U.S., every 2 years, there was a new regime. There was a new management crew. And I just kept putting the same age down. So I was between 30 and 32 for at least 8 years. And when the team from Spain called me and said, we'd really like to have you. You played well, and we'll set you up. And I said, well, I have a job. I work in an office. We're talking right now. And they said, oh, we'll take care of that. But it wasn't exciting enough or financially rewarding enough to give up what I was doing to go to Spain.
Good.
So, and then when they found out how old I really was, it pretty much ended the conversation so quickly.
I can see how that could scare them. But that methodology that you picked up in there, it's probably how you were able to grow so well into the trade space as well, because it's all attention to detail.
It is. And when you think about a general contracting job, pulling all the electrician and the carpenter and the plumbing components together, well, then you go into a home inspection, the average 200 or 2,500 square foot home, that's about a 500 point inspection. It's 500 things you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be able to move quickly. You've got to have a good eye. You've got to be able to look things. You've got to have the software to be able to take a picture, document what you see, so that can translate to the client. And it's got to happen literally on a rolling basis, because someone doesn't have time to be there for 9 hours.
Yeah.
And I can't make any money doing it for 9 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So kind of roll through that way.
You got to be that. So let's unpack it now. So for the people that are, we might have some first time home buyers. Let's go through the basics, right? So what is a home inspection?
So a home inspection is evaluation of the home on the day of the inspection. So what you're looking at is how the home sits in that day, the condition, foundation, roof, everything from the doors and the windows. How does everything operate properly? Are there any defects? Are there any issues that we should note? And is there anything critical or a safety issue that should be called out? Yeah.
And you typically do these before you buy a house, so you can get an idea of what you're getting into.
Interesting. A lot. There's two also groups that are emerging. The first one is people who are selling the home. We live in such a litigious society that everyone can bring suit if you didn't disclose. What they end up doing is I did one. I live in Fairmount, which is an old section of Fort Worth over near Magnolia area. And I did one for a woman whose husband had passed a couple of years ago, and she was going to retire and move. I did an inspection for her so she could provide it to the buyers. This is my house. She fixed everything that was of critical of nature. Other than that, she said, here's what you're getting. And it was full disclosure. So there's no lawsuit later. And I did go to her open house, just to say hi to the agent. But it was sitting on the table, printed out, all 97 pages.
What a great move. I mean, that like immediately, like you feel confident. There's like, okay, nothing to hide.
Yeah, but correct. And the other aspect of that is that investors can also use us. We do a limited inspection for them because they know that they're demoing the kitchen and the bathrooms and taking out the windows, but they want to know what I call the great 8. So they want to know the roof. They want to know the foundation, HVAC, plumbing, electric, et cetera. They want to know all those things and how the house sits, but they don't care about if the window in the back bedroom works or not because they're replacing them anyway.
Yeah.
So what we do, we take out all the cosmetic stuff. We take out everything that I'm looking at, and I can go in, do that in 2 hours, the major systems. And if they're looking at 2 homes and, we're trying to decide between A and B or A, B, and C, it's such a accelerated process that I can literally knock out 2 of those or 3 of those in a day so they can make their decision on which investment property are we going to purchase.
That's awesome. I love that you bring that up because, I do real estate investment myself. And that is one of those things that are, when you're looking at, what is commonly referred to as a flip, you're looking at a house, you're going to go in there, renovate everything in there. Yeah, you don't care about those things. They're going to go out anyway. So why just use that time? That's really cool. Yeah,
it's something we came up with a couple of years ago, and I really like, and it's a real way to, and we can obviously, I talk at all my inspections. I usually talk to the agent or the client immediately after, whether they're there or I'm on the phone. But listen, here's what you got. This is great. This is okay. It's an older roof and it's probably not going to last 5 years. You probably need to do it. But the investor, the biggest part for them, the number one thing that they're trying to avoid, I don't know if you know, the next mortgage payment. Well, they can't get away from it. So if they flip the home in 60 and they sell it the next 30, well, okay, they've had a few 3-4 payments. If they get into something they don't know and now they're in it for a year, well, that's 12 months of payments that they have to get out of this investment.
The longer you hang on to that, the less money you make with it.
Correct.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. That's so cool. So one of the things I like about your story and just what I can see right away, it's an advantage with what you do is you've done the work, you've done the trades, you've done that aspect which develops your eye. And you mentioned timing, right? Like it needs to take a certain time. But it's not just about it being quick, but it's like, how do you it's about being quick, but thorough at the same time. So how long do the inspections take?
Well, a condo that's, 750, 1,000 square feet, that's going to take right around an hour and a half. A 6,500, 7,000 square foot home is going to take me about 6 hours. But the average 25-year-old home that's 2,500 square feet is going to take me right around 3 to 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And with age, every 50 or every 30, 40, 50 years, I always try to add on a half hour to give me time.
Yeah.
You start getting into crawl spaces. You start getting into figuring out. Yesterday, I was trying to figure out an electrical system that was, it had more things hung on it than a Christmas tree. And I was desperately trying to help the client figure out because there were some things that were unsafe, and I was trying to sort through it, and it took a little bit longer. And but I always try to keep my clients abreast, even when they're not there. When we get here, here's a quick, because we have all the technology, right? We're going to be talking about electrical, and we're going to be talking about insulation in the attic, just so they know ahead of time. So when they get there, their head is rolling, or their agent's head is rolling in the right direction.
Got you. And shoot, do the clients need to be present when you're doing it?
Yes, I prefer clients to be there for the inspection. it really helps to deliver an explanation of something when they can put eyes on it. I hate to use the term boots on the ground, but what if I can have people there looking at it and explaining why this door is warped, why the burners aren't all lighting on the cooktop, or even, can you see this wave in the roof, and explain it. They're more apt to digest it and understand it than looking at a picture later. They don't have to be there for the whole inspection, but typically what I have found is that the agent and the client like to come in the last half hour. So yesterday I had a 2,600 square feet. I said I was going to take about 3.5, 4 hours because it was from the 50s. They came at right around a little bit before 4. I did a half-hour wrap-up of walking them around the house, showing them what I found, and then things that we couldn't look at because they were in the attic. I pulled out my phone and did a summary of those items in the attic so they could see exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is helpful. And, especially so you can understand it. One of the things that I thought it was really cool is when I was looking for my home, the inspector of one of the houses we considered initially was a house that had foundation issues. And the only way the way he spotted is because it was inside of the closet. It was a walk-in closet, and it wasn't until you got to the very end of the closet you're like, whoa, something feels different. But you couldn't really see much. There wasn't any kind of like stress, like fractures that you
cracking, right?
Yeah, like you can notice right away. But you walked into the end of that closet, and you could just feel how it was a little bit. Yeah, it's like, whoa, that is crazy. And then sure enough, put the level in. It's like, oh wow. But stuff like that is. It was really cool that I got to feel it. And you could always write it in the report, but I mean, just being in there and like see that it's like, okay, no, this is this should not feel this way.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is that with a house that had a basement, and the grade of the home, it was a walkout basement in the back, but they had a picture that was not hung in the normal height. And when you hang, it's usually somewhere around eye level. It could be different for me if I'm taller at 6'2" versus someone who's 5'5". Could be different, but I noticed that it's a big picture hung lower, and it kind of stuck with me. And I just, I didn't like it. And we use things like infrared cameras, and I still was just not getting a good feel. And when I took the picture off, there was a huge mold stain that was below a window above that water had come down. And that window was 1.5 stories up, but it had run down over the years. And what did they do? Hung a picture.
Put on a picture.
Put on a 2 foot by 3 foot picture of something that didn't go with any of the decor of the house, nor did it go with kids. So it was just weird, but it's
just bizarre. That's fun. Not even lipstick, a picture.
Nope. A beautiful picture.
That's hilarious. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The stories you could tell and things you found on homes.
Yeah. My favorite story, I think, is when I was doing a home for a police officer who was buying a house. And we went into the garage apartment above where apparently I think a son or a relative lived. And right next to the nightstand was a bong. And he looked at me and I looked at him and I just said, Officer Mike, it's not something I include in my report. Is this something that you might want to include in your report? And he just looked at me and said, listen, man, you think you see some stuff at houses, you can't believe what I see on the job. And I said, I got it. He was a good guy.
That's pretty good.
Oh my God. The new message is like, hey, you might want to let your client know the buyer's a cop.
Oh, and the other one, I remember I did a hoarder house. And there was 3 bathrooms in the house, and the toilet in one bathroom worked, the shower in one bathroom worked, and the sink worked in the other, but not all 3 in the same space. And this woman had been living here, I'm sure, 40 years. I know the bedroom windows had been, because HV has been dead for ages. I know some of the windows had been open for probably a decade. And the young couple that were buying it was like, hey, when we get all this stuff out, there's going to be all this room. And I'm just trying to gauge expectations. And I said, listen, y'all, it's a really, really cool house, but we have no idea what's under. We literally have piles of paper and we walk through these alleys to get places that is 4 or 5, 6 feet high. And they said, yeah, but how bad could it be? I said, well, when you clean it out, you should probably have, hazmat suits on and rubber gloves. And she goes, oh, that's silly. Why would we need that? I said, well, for one thing, the dead squirrel that's deteriorating on the dresser in the bedroom may be something you don't want to touch with your bare hands. And
Oh, wow.
that you should have seen the enlightenment happen. It took about 5 seconds for her, that wit lag, for her to catch up. And then she realized that I wasn't kidding. And it was like, yeah, there's a lot of scary stuff in this house. And by the way, you can't live here until you upgrade all these things.
Yeah.
Hey, so Johnny, your compadre, John at Rockstar, said that picture was strategic placement.
Strategic placement.
He's a good man. He's a good friend. That's funny.
Yeah, no, I know that. That's funny. That's cool. So
That's pretty crazy. Man, those are crazy. And for the people listening and watching this, could you tell them what a hoarder house is?
A hoarder house is, if you think of your distant aunt Susan or Julia, who never throws away anything, and they have literally magazines from the 50s or 60s or 70s. They have trash cans full of towels that they've never used but bought on sale because someone someday is going to need this bedding. And it's people that they never throw anything away. So I think there are shows on TV, but when you walk into these homes, there's literally one path to a chair where a TV is, and then everywhere else is just to the walls and 5 foot high with stuff and crazy stuff, not just magazines or old photographs. Oh yeah, by the way, here's this beautiful China collection just stacked on the floor.
It just looks like a storage unit.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And of course,
like a storage unit.
Right. It is like a storage unit, except
it's your house.
Or their house, or people that own animals. And let's just say they're not always taking the cat or the dog out.
Yeah.
Let's not. Yeah.
Now, for some of these hoarder houses, and they're like 2 stories, can't you get into like structural integrity issues because they have just like passed the weight limit of that?
We call those when the home is built, it's called a dead load. How much can the building stand on its own structure? And then a live load, how much is actually put into the home with people and furniture and other things and that kind of stuff. So you can, because paper is relatively heavy, especially when you think of a box. A box full of paper, it's pretty heavy. Well, imagine 34 of those in a room. It's pretty heavy. So, but usually you find these in older homes because the people are older. The homes were built better back in the 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, et cetera, up until probably the 80s, when we started to do a lot of different things in building homes. So it can add a lot of weight. The problem is, and I know this is terrible, but think about this. How is old Aunt Julia going to carry this 40-pound box upstairs?
Yeah.
And make 20 trips? So usually the heavier stuff is down, the lighter stuff is up.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that makes you
crazy.
Yes. Crazy. And, to go through a little bit of the methodology, but here too, so how do you guys get access to the home?
So we use, there's a couple different systems in Texas. It's called Supra, and it's a lockbox that we have access to that literally we have to sign in our personal code. And then we use something which is called Broker Bay, which is a service that we schedule it so the listing agent and hopefully the clients of that listing agent know that there's a open house this day. So they usually will vacate the structure. If someone's in it, yesterday, the one I did, it was vacant.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And didn't, it's funny because I've never heard about that until recently. This is the second time I hear that name, but didn't that Supra system go down recently?
Different areas of the Supra system, as they were upgrading it, I think they were doing upgrades as they normally do technology. I think certain areas, I was not affected in the DFW area. I heard some people down in Houston and some people in San Antonio were, and I think I heard one or more stories of Lubbock, but we were not affected here. But there are different types of lock boxes. We call them electronic lock boxes. There are different types of setups in different parts of not only the state, but the country.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the Facebook feed flood with people complaining about it. It's like, have an open house and then the system goes down.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we get is that I start early. Obviously, you want to beat the heat, but I recently told an agent, young gentleman, I just said, yeah, I'm going to be there at, I'm pretty much going to be there at dawn. This is an 8,000 square foot home with a barn. I need to get there and get on it. And he arrived at the end and he's looking around and he goes, where's Dawn? And I mean, Jordan, I probably had that same dumbfounded look that we discussed earlier about that young lady. And I just said, yeah, as in daybreak, you need to start early. I've been here for a long time, guy, let's get with the program. But it's funny. We get access. But the problem was for me, when I mentioned that story, the Century lock was set for no access until 9 o'clock.
Oh no.
So I was done with the outside. It was about 8:15 and I'm putting in my code and it's not giving it to me. And I contacted the listing agent and she just said, no, we're going to leave it at 9. I said, no one lives here. Let's go. And she goes, yeah, no, I'm kind of busy right now. And okay, got it. So I went and got coffee and 9 o'clock I was in, ready to go.
Yep. Man. Oh man. That's
so Jordan, I want to throw in 2 cents here. So it seems like in the old days that when somebody was buying a house, right, Johnny, that the realtor already had an inspection done on the home, right? And the people walked in and read that report. But it seems like today more often the homeowners are smarting up and they're getting a second opinion. And so you work probably both sides of that fence, right? You probably do home inspections for buyers and you probably do home inspections for realtors, or which do you prefer, or do you both?
Usually we are contacted. The referral comes from the agent. Right. And so the agent refers probably 90% of our business. I do meet investors at various groups that I attend, and they're into working properties, they're into flipping properties, and they need information on the go. Like, we need this now if we're going to get this at this offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
So you got to be responsive. And then the other side is it's the friends and family thing. I run into a lot of people, Herdy, with not only our groups, where I work out, for my local CrossFit, and also I coach. I'm one of the coaches for Fort Worth men's rugby team, and I also help out at the TCU rugby club. You can't believe the people that you meet. And, oh, by the way, you're a home inspector? My daughter is buying a house next week. Yes, ma'am. How can I help you? And it's almost like the joke about the doctor. You don't want to say, hey, doctor, this hurts when I do this. Don't do it. Don't mention you're a home inspector, because guess what? they're all over you. They're all over you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a popular thing today.
Actually, let me tell you, when my wife, who's wonderful person, when she retired from Verizon of 20 plus years, she had a retirement party, and at the retirement party, all these people were hanging around, and I didn't really know anybody. Everyone was very nice, but I didn't really have all these 15, 20-year connections. So I grabbed a beverage of my choice. I was standing in the corner, and someone walked up and said, "Are you Johnny?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she goes, "Well, my husband, he's retiring. He's Sheldon or Blake or somebody who's retiring. Could you do me a favor? We're thinking about doing some stuff around the house. Can you look at the house for me and see what we need to do?" And okay. So I grabbed my phone and I went around the house and I took pictures and, of like 5 or 6 things, gutter over here. Really need to trim back these tree branches because there's stuff's really falling on your roof. And by the way, you got some rot around the window in the back, and I gave her the pictures. And I just went back to, again, being alone, essentially trying to be polite with these people. And lo and behold, what happened? A guy walked up and said, "Are you Johnny?" "Yeah." "Well, I'm Frank, and I live here, and I'm going to play golf in my retirement. Don't talk to my wife ever again." And I'm like, got it. Got
it. Give him the to-do list. It was like, here you go. That's so
yeah. Funny. Yeah. Thanks, honey. Thanks, honey.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's so funny. That's cool. So one thing I wanted to ask you too is because you talk about like, especially with investors, you got to go quickly. Can you schedule the inspections online?
You can schedule the inspection online 24/7. Most of the time, an agent will text me or the client will text me and say, "Hey, we've looked at a house, or my client has purchased a house. What do you have available?" Because part of their contracts that they do, they have to have a start and end date or stop date. They have a window to get all of their items done before it ends, and their deposit is not refundable. Their earnest money deposit is not refundable. So it's usually 3 to 7 days. Some of the more attractive deals that they're trying to get the seller to bite, they do a very short window, 2 to 3 days. So we have to manipulate or move things on our end to help the client, fit it in, get the information, and then digest it, read it, and then come back if they want to do anything or offer or counter offer anything to the seller.
Yeah. And those are huge. I mean, it's a huge bargaining chip.
So, but I find it's so funny. I find agents, because they know what they want. They've written the deal. It finally got signed off at 9:30 or 10, and they're in at 11:30. They're entering all the information to do the inspection, which is why, rain or shine, I pretty much am up at a little bit before 5 every morning, because if someone's booked something, and guess what, it's in Argyle or in Aubrey or in Waco, guess what? I got to know, because because your day has changed. When I went to bed at 11 or 10:30, everything was great, and now my life is cattywampus kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, the DFW area is gigantic.
Yes, it really, really is, and we never realize, what it takes to do a job in Weatherford and then do a job in Denton in the same day.
Right, and you think those are not that far from each other, and it's like, yes, they are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
By the way, did it last week. It's an hour and 40 minutes.
It's like, I can tell you how much that is.
Well, I just know it's certain parts of the day, and my wife made me rudely aware that I was going to be late for my second inspection, and my pet peeve is I never, ever, ever want someone waiting on me to be late. So I used the tolls the whole way on that Saturday, and it was only a $72 day.
Oh my God.
She absolutely took my head off and just said, "Oh my God, you can't afford to do this. You got to leave early. You got to leave more space. You got to do it the next day." And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Speaking of that, can you pay for the inspections online too?
You can. You can not only pay online, you can pay by Zelle. You can do ACH. You can pay by almost any form, and we even have some people pay by check on site. And there's by the way, a whole group of young people who don't know how to write a check. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah.
And so they bring cash.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I have had one or two clients. Maybe they were just testing me. I don't know, but they asked if they could pay in Bitcoin, and I'm sorry, but you have to put on your parent face and say, "Really? Really? Is that what you just asked me? Bitcoin?
Bitcoin?
How cool for school are you that you can't just come up with another form of payment?"
That's funny. Bitcoin. Well, I mean, nowadays.
I guess.
Nowadays, everything is a tradable commodity, I suppose.
I reckon. Okay.
And when you're done with the inspections, how do you deliver the reports?
Well, I like to verbally deliver the report with the client.
Yeah.
And go over what I found. Again, pointing out things on the ground is very helpful. What they can't see, I can go over on my phone, show them pictures, show them the impact, what's the problem. But we promise that they get the report same day or it's free. So they get it later that day. And sometimes that's working up. If you've had a couple of inspections that day or several things, you're publishing that thing at 11:45, but it's got to go out.
Yeah.
And but other than that, it's I always like to, if the agent or someone can't, if the agent has referred it, I'm always going to call the agent to let them know what I found. And I'm always going to call the client if they didn't attend and go over the top 5 or 7 things. Now, I will tell you that I always make the offer after they receive the report. I sit down, again, have a beverage of your choice, go through it, and then call me with questions.
Yeah.
And they can Zoom, they can Skype, they can email, we can meet for coffee if it works, whatever they want to do, and they can do conference calls. This happens a lot when parents are involved in the purchase. But there's also no time frame. 2 weeks, 2 months.
Yeah.
My record is about 3.5, 4 years. A client called me because they keep your phone number.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, we did you did my inspection. My name is Ellen. You did my inspection in, Silver Spring. Do you remember me? And of course, if you're doing 300, 350 of these a year, 400 a year, unless you were serving chips and beer, or I can go swim in your pool, which by the way, has never happened. I remember houses and dogs. So give me an address. I'm going to pull up the address. I'm going to look at the report. This lady had a particular question about her deck, but I always want to be there as a resource for clients. And also if they're getting work done, like, hey, I'm getting an AV charger. And, or I had one client who said, I'm in this home in Park City. I'm finally going to get in and I'm going to have my deck built. How can you help me later? I said, well, if you get it, just send me the estimate. As a retired general contractor, I've not only created thousands of estimates, I've read thousands and thousands and thousands of estimates and bids from subs. So I can break down anything in roughly 5-7 minutes. And the one client I referred to, I called him back and I worked some numbers and I called him back next day and I said, Bob, I have to ask you a question. Very rudely, what did you pay for your house? And he says, big house. I paid, 1.2. And I said, great. And I took the square footage and I divided it into the house. And I said, you are paying more per square foot for your deck than you are your house. Please get other estimates.
Very
and
good.
You know what? In the end of the day, and this deck, it did not have butterfly stairs. It didn't have any kind of glass panels. It had a little bit of lighting, but nothing. It was a rectangular deck with one staircase. And he actually, at the end of the day, saved $17,000.
Wow.
That's a big swing.
That's a big,
all the same pressure treated. I mean, all the same, Trex or PVC material.
Yeah.
Everything was almost identical. And I'm able to sort the things that are not good. But whenever you see an estimate and it's just a total number and they won't break it down, it's going off in your mind. Ding, 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 ding. Where are they hiding this stuff?
Yeah. So I would imagine then that the biggest point you're making, that whole point, is you're helping these homeowners and you're helping these agents, right? You understand the business from experience. And I would say experience matters big time in this.
It does, and also a passion for it. But it's even, our motto, you really have to have a servant's heart. You have to want to help people.
Yeah.
And once you work for them and now they've been your client, and now, like a young couple, say it's their first house, like it was yesterday. I kind of know when they want to put in an EV charger, they're going to call me. I know that when they want to put in, a hot tub in the back, I'm going to get a call. And that's okay. I don't mind. It happens probably 4 or 5 times a month that I get a call from more than a year ago where a client just calls for an update. Hey, how do I fix this? We discovered this when we had the snow, or when it rained real hard, this happened, and you can kind of walk them through.
I would imagine you probably next month I think that's when the tax returns hit, right? So that's probably when you get some calls. We're like, hey, now we're gonna fix this.
You know what, Jordan? I never put that together. I always align that with people buying cars. I never aligned it with people. Oh yeah, we are getting X dollars back. We need to fix this. Yeah. I never put that together.
April's a busy month.
I'll have to look at
April,
that.
May. April, May. I
I'll
guarantee it works for home, cars, and whatever else.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's when you like we you know a lot of our tax returns would always put in the house and just address certain issues.
Yeah, yeah. Take care of something
Yeah.
big.
Well,
Which
that's
brings
right.
me to the next question that I really want to ask you. Like, what is the
what is
repair
it?
estimate report? Like this kind of sizzles to me.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
What is the repair estimate report?
On the repair estimate report, we can actually link in and you can kick in your address. And so a hot water heater that is 50 gallons, that's electric, it's going to give you a cost of, an estimate of what it's going to be for the unit itself and allow for, the install cost. So it's probably going to be between, depending on the unit you get, it's going to be between $800 and probably $1,000 and probably half that to install, just to give people an idea. It doesn't get into, I want to paint the square foot of this room and it's 800 square feet. It doesn't get into that, but it can do some major systems.
General.
And just help people general, because, unless you're in the trades, you would be amazed at people. Sometimes people are almost neophyte. They know their business. If they're a florist or if they're, they are car mechanics or they sell cars or they do how, you cannot believe what people do not know. And how often are you amazed every time when we were talking earlier and you said that new storage card, I thought you were going to say, yeah, it's really expensive because Herdy said the prices had come down. I was ready for $50. And when you said $600 for that storage card, I was like, oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to talk like that's what you were. This was hinting at, because that is a huge asset, especially when you're a first-time home buyer. Because I remember when I bought my first house, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Typical, like I'm tired of throwing my rent money away, so I want to build equity.
Yeah,
and even a mortgage is going to be less than what I'm paying in rent. And oh, little did I know, there's repair costs.
Yeah, and you struggle. Even when I was a general contractor, and I was an A-class builder, so I was building additions. I was building garage with apartments over in a second. I was redoing, or even working for flips for people, plus doing work on my own for homes that I owned, investment properties, etc. But the biggest part was, people can't even begin to itemize what it costs to build a deck. So that's when we mentioned my friend, who just said, yeah, this is the deck. And I'm really excited. And I'm like, oh, calm down, cowboy. Let's look at this a little bit and let's retreat and let's get some other estimates and that kind of thing, because people don't know. And of course, unfortunately, there are people in the trades who charge you by zip code.
Yeah.
It's a reality.
Yeah. I love that. That really arms your clients with just better knowledge. Well, if you're a first-time home buyer, that's incredible, because you get a very good idea of like what this is going to be, because people don't realize just how much things cost.
Right. But what ends up happening, they look at that and realize they have to put information in. And then probably 20 minutes later, I get the call because they want all the information on the fly right there.
Yeah.
It happens.
Oh yeah. I can definitely imagine. And then for the real estate investors, especially when you first start getting into the investment properties, you're looking for a way to invest your money. But again, like, for example, me, like I don't come from a builder background. So there's so many of those things that I don't know what the repair cost is. And being able to take a look at that, you're like, oh, wow, okay. So it's a good deal on a home. But when you start factoring all the cost of repairing, like and I love that you break it down to the top 8, because those are always the most expensive ones.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, now I'm starting to see a real picture here.
And they usually come back with 3 or 4 questions. And remember, I'm a generalist, so I'm not a specialist. So I'm always going to defer to a roofing company. I'm always going to defer to a plumbing company, but I'm going to be able to point out 5 or 6 or 10 things that are issues that need to be addressed. And I definitely want that professional. And if I've referred, typically we try not to, because an inspector has an enormous amount of influence on an inspection.
Yeah.
And how can I refer my brother-in-law and his company installs windows and you need new windows? It's kind of dicey.
Yeah.
But what I do is I can refer them to the agent and say, here's someone for you to talk to about the house. Or if drones aren't going to work or the house isn't accessible because of the height or the topography around the home, I'll say I have reached out to a friend who's a roofing company to have them look at this roof, and they're going to be by later on today. I'll get the report and I'll forward it to you. And that way I'm not involved. I've just given my aspect of the roof from the ground and from the attic. And if they've walked the roof, which we always kind of want to do, if possible. Sometimes you just can't, but we'd like to.
Does your home inspections, John, because we haven't addressed this yet, does your home inspections include looking at appliances that maybe are outdated, have recalls or anything to that nature, or is that extra? Because it seems like to me dishwashers, things of that nature, been used over and over, wash machines that can't. I don't know. I'm just asking this. Basic appliances. Do you look at serial numbers or anything?
It is. Typically in Texas, the washing machine, the dryer, and the refrigerator do not convey with the purchase of the home. However, if they're there, I will inspect them just because they're there.
Okay.
What I do, I inspect operation, dishwasher, we're going to run it, turn on the oven, make sure that's working, all the burners, microwave, etc. We go through all the appliances, and I capture the appliance code, the data label. So if the client ever wants to register that unit with Samsung, Amana, et cetera, if they
whoever,
if they want to look it up for a reason, they can do that as well.
Yeah, so they have the ability to look and see if something's got a recall. You're helping them give them the information. That's great. Okay, cool.
No, it's awesome, and especially now with AI, you could just feed that label directly to
exactly. Yeah, there's so many things you can do. Jordan, we go back to that, but people don't. You realize you buy something, and then you realize there's cost. And people aren't thinking in the future. So you go back to the example of buying a car. So you go out and buy a $40,000 car. It's $600 a month. They go, oh, right. But they don't realize there's maintenance, there's gas, there's insurance.
Yes.
So that $400 payment ends up being $1,000 payment. So home inspections are a good way to help negotiate a deal, and also a good way to know what you're getting into or walking away from it, which is what makes money valuable. And I love that.
I had a client looking at a 90-year-old home actually in my neighborhood, and really nice fireman, nice young man. He had 2 kids, and there were probably 85 items listed just as fixed repair. There were 9 or 10 that were critical, flagged as red or seriously defective, safety-wise, hazard-wise. And, got on the phone with the dad, and the first thing the dad question asked me is, should my son buy this house? And since I'm not a 20-year-old, so I can look at this gentleman and say, Dad, listen, you can't put me in this situation. I got to stay in my lane. Here's my job. I've got to identify, I've got to document, I've got to photograph and explain the impact of this issue. And then I have to step away because I can't tell you, I don't know if your son knows how to use a screwdriver or owns a drill gun. So how am I going to tell him with 2 kids under the age of 5 that he should buy this house?
Yeah.
It's difficult. It really is.
I bet it's hard. Yeah.
Definitely. But I love that
the reason why it's hard is because you like them and you want to say, this is going to be a lot. This is the time to do it. You can make money in getting this home flipped and turning around and living in it for a couple of years and working on it. But understand, you're a fireman, so you work really crazy hours and you have 2 kids under 2 or under 3 or whatever. That's a lot of time. And how do you balance that? And that's why you can't go down that path.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
And I love that you have that repair estimate in there. I mean, that's a really good way to let somebody know, like, make an educated decision. This, should you buy this? It's like, well, it's going to take time and money. Do you have both?
Well, and you try to order, kind of put together a triage, as I explained, the most critical things most issues, like the gentleman's electrical panel, which was going to be a major cost for them to get in and be safe. But can they do the caulking around the bathroom and then work on the fireplace chimney cap later, kind of thing? You can kind of stage things to take care of it, as long as it's not leaking or damaging or affecting someone else and it's isolated. You know what? We're not going to refinish the tub because it's not that important to us.
Yeah.
Hey, Jordan, you just reminded me of 3 types of people: money, no time; time, no money; or both.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to take time, skill, or treasure. I hope you have all 3.
Hey, well, we have been on 1 hour.
Time flies.
Is that bad?
Time flies. So I want to put up this right here. So I'm assuming you probably get phone calls from wherever, but you probably like people to visit your website, right? And contact you through the website. Is that the easiest way for them to reach you?
It is. Our numbers are also posted there.
Okay,
but
good.
You can go on. There are several explanations of not only how an inspection works, why choose Trinity inspections, to different platforms and programs we have for clients to fit into what they need. And a condo and a townhome is cheaper than a single family home, only because it's a smaller area. And and we want to be able to help them, but I also want to educate them about their house and about a home inspection and let them know what it is. Also, they can read reviews. We're approaching 500 5-star Google reviews.
Wow.
So that's okay.
That's huge.
Now,
Very high.
I'm also approaching 5,000 inspections.
Wow.
So, been doing it a while. But it just comes down. It's still, I'm a house junkie. I like to figure things out. I like the puzzle. And if you like helping people, if you can align those 3 or 4 things, it makes for a good day for me.
You got the experience, and you just told us about that 5,000 inspections and the kind of reviews you have carry a lot of weight, and you're there. So, well, thanks, Johnny, for being part of the Mansfield Buzz. This was pretty entertaining and pretty very well spoken out of how this works. I think the newest thing that got my attention was including the repair estimate, to give people ideas what they're really looking at if there's some major things that need to be done in a home. And I encourage consumers, not only the realtor side of the report, but if you're thinking about buying a home, spend the extra money and get a home inspection for yourself for peace of mind. And I know the investors do it. I get that. So cool.
The thing that flips them out the most, I always show them how an infrared camera works, because I'm looking for thermal changes, and you have to be trained on how to use it. But I'm looking for thermal changes, so you can look in an attic or look for leaking air or maybe a water stain behind a wall, things you have questions on. But when you put your hand up against the wall for 5 seconds, take it away, and then show it on the infrared camera, and there's your hand, they're like, "Oh, this is so cool!" It's just so funny.
That's so cool.
Shock and awe. That's good. Well, Johnny, thank you. We're going to ask you to stay with us just a few minutes after, because we want to make sure we not only do the recording, all 3 of us together, but we upload individual tracks. Jordan also has a package he's going to offer you after this is over for shorts that we need to put up on YouTube, because this was a great broadcast, by the way. This is great information, super information, and it's just awesome having you on finally.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry it took so long.
The guy's busy. I get it. It's cool. It's just we're finally glad to have you on the Buzz, and we've been working on this since last year with you, and we're just really super to have you. And we've had John on too, so it's really nice to have 2 very professional people in this area on the Buzz, and y'all got so much to do around the DFW complex. There's plenty of work for everybody. I almost guarantee it. So
no, it's just fine. But what I like to do, because you work so hard with me, Hurdy, is that when you guys rebrand and come out again,
Yeah.
I want to go on again, and you can just get into the ugliest things that I've ever seen in a home, and we'll go down that
Well,
road.
you know what?
Do
We
that.
could do, yeah, ugly things I've seen, or I had to call the police because I found a dead body or something, whatever.
You want to go into that now or just later?
No. We got to get off. We've been on plenty of time. So, everybody, we'll be back next Thursday at 2:00. And on the buzz. And after that, Jordan and I are going to take a break. We're going to sit down, talk, hash some things out, and get through our next revamp. It's really exciting for us because we're getting a huge amount of external people wanting to communicate with us. We're going to try to figure out how to put it all together and make it work for everybody. So there might be a mix of Mansfield buzz and Texas buzz, and Jordan and I are becoming full-time broadcasters and whatever. So, we're willing to go down the rabbit hole. But y'all have a good day. Johnny, stay with us for a few minutes. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Mansfield Buzz. Make sure you tell some friends. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you next week, Thursday at 2:00. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mario, thank you.